And then we're going to walk away. Close the door. It's okay. I'll cut this part out. Okay. So we are going to talk about how to actually glaze your tiles. So this is my sample tile. And we are going to use what we call here our high fire glazes. They are also known as the mid-fire glazes. First thing you're going to need to do is locate the glaze brush binder. This binder is above the blow dryers. And as we all already are fully aware, I love color. So there are 6 for each table, and they are all painted to match your table. There are 2 different types of brushes in there. There is this big white one that is known as a mop brush. This is your overall glaze brush. And then there's this brush. This little guy is known as a fan brush, and he's used specifically and only for layering glazes. Any other time that you are glazing, you will use either this brush or some smaller detail brushes I have. So once you've got your brushes, the next step is you have to pick out your glazes. Color, again, my thing. Each table has 2 books, and in there are all of the glazes and the glaze combinations that you can do. So you should have watched the first video, which talked about just how to glaze. Now we're going to talk about specifically layering. So in the front of this book, which is also up on Canvas, are the colors and what they look like when you use just one. Now, glaze is not paint. I will say it again. Glaze is not paint. Paint, you paint purple or you paint red or you paint blue, and it goes on the color you're expecting it to be. Glaze is actually minerals from the earth that are mixed together with silica, heated at an extremely high temperature, 2,167 degrees to be specific, and they undergo a chemical change that causes them to completely change their properties, and thus we result in our colors. Glaze can also not be treated like paint. So please don't go, okay, well, on my space fruit, I want my eyeballs red, and I want my body black, and I want my feet blue, because that's treating the glaze like it's paint. Glaze is glaze. Let it be glaze. I think I've made that point. Okay, so these are what they look like. I do not want to see anybody glaze their piece this color. This is silver. Yes, I know, gentlemen. It's just so flippin' awesome. It's always the boys that have to use this color. This color is not food safe. This color has also been only purchased for the layering process. You will not receive a happy grade with this ugly palladium color glazed all over your piece, like a 6th grade boy yarfed on it. Once you go to the next couple of pages, you'll see that they have all of the colors that can be created by layering your glazes. So I have already taken opportunity to choose mine. So I picked this top color here. And if you read next to it, it says PC25. All of the glazes are in order of their number, not by their name. PC25, also known as textured turquoise, is over PC12 or blue midnight. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like. This is what the 2 colors look like separately. I put the blue midnight, I put the bottom color on first, and we're going to put 2 coats. Now, all of those instructions, in case you forget, are at the front of the book. For my first 2 coats on my tile, I am going to use my mop brush. I also have a small, already glazed commercial kind of tile for you to pour your glaze on, okay? When you get your glaze bottle down, and I don't care if your neighbor just had it, I don't trust I don't trust you guys. So you need to shake it yourself. It's really important you shake it because all of the minerals that are mixed in here with water are just chilling at the bottom. So if you want your color to look like this, then you need to make sure you shake the bottle. It never fails. Every semester, somebody wears a bunch of glaze. I cannot guarantee it's going to come out of your clothes. This happens because most people don't check to make sure the top's on right. And they'll start shaking the bottle even though it's closed like this. Again, don't trust you guys. I always check the bottle to make sure it's closed tight. And I put my fingers on the top before I begin to shake the bottle because I need all that good stuff from down here to mix in here. It's just like wedging clay. Now that I've shaken it, you can pour some on a tile if you'd like, or you can just use it straight out of the bottle. So I'm going to dip my brush in there. I compare this to kind of painting your nails. You want to make sure you put a good coat on, but you don't want to like glob it on there. So I've got my brush. My brush is not dripping glaze, okay? But it is full. I'm going to make sure that I go in all the same directions. So I'm going horizontal to me, but in the video it's vertical. So I'm going to go in vertical strokes only with my Blue Midnight. I'm making sure that I get it everywhere. Okay. I'm going to do my sides because it looks a little bit more finished. We do not, and you should know this from the first video, want to glaze the bottom. You can go ahead and re-dip if you need to. Now, the one important step that my most impulsive teenagers and impatient individuals on the planet, although Cooper and Lincoln might have you beat, is waiting for the glaze to dry. Yes, I know it's boring to wait for paint to dry, but if you don't wait for paint to dry, when Blue Midnight and my top color textured turquoise go in the kiln, they're going to mix together instead of stay one on the bottom and one on the top and melt like this. If that happens, I 100% guarantee you will get the color called poop. It will look like somebody pooped on your piece. It'll look like somebody diarrheaed on your piece. I'm not kidding. This is what it looks like. So you have to make sure it's dried. Now, I'm a little impatient. So I'm going to blow dry it. And for once, the temperature in the room is doing us an advantage because as you can see, it went from being a shiny kind of gray to almost looking like chalk. There's still a couple areas that are a little damp. Since we're going with the Blue Midnight, we'll put this on top. Same direction as I went with my first coat. You do not want glaze dripping out of your brush, but you do want to fill your brush. And now we got to wait for it to dry again. This is the layer that it's most important is completely 100% dry before I put my textured turquoise on. If it's not, they'll mix. Close this bottle. The numbers for the colors right there. Okay. This gets put back up on the shelf where it belongs. You can all count. You don't come to ceramics and forget how to count. So it goes where PC12 is, because otherwise your neighbor won't be able to find it when they're looking for it. So now I'm going to blow dry. Could sing the Jeopardy song. Don't you guys wish I would have let you fast forward? No, you have to watch me dry my glaze. Okay, so I'm ready to put my second coat or my second color on top. Okay, so it's got a couple of areas that it's still a little wet in, so I'm going to let that dry for a minute. The number for the top two coats is PC25, but this time instead of using my mop brush, I am going to use my fan brush. Now this guy gives you a couple of different things. Number one, it's not going to soak up as much glaze, and so it's going to allow for just a slightly thinner coat, which is going to allow this undercolor to come through when they layer. So I went in what appeared to be vertical directions, okay, but was horizontal. So we are now going to go horizontal for you guys and vertical for myself while we put our second color on. The other thing to note is your brushes are all brand new, but they won't stay that way after we all start glazing. So my first hour, we'll get these brand new sparkly brushes. And my poor 8th hour is going to get brushes after they've been used. Again, I don't trust you guys. I never, ever, ever use brushes that I myself have not washed, because most people don't get all the glaze out. That will mess my tile up. Before you can put your brushes away, they need to be cleaned and dried, which we will talk about in a little bit, okay? But please make sure that your brush is clean, okay? Again, we need to shake. Again, I made sure it's closed. Putting my hands on top, shaking. Now, some of the glazes have been sitting here for a while, so they've kind of settled. So if you get a glaze where you can't get the bottom stuff to shake up into the top, come and see me, because we will mix it with a hand mixer, essentially a cake mixer, and we will get that to come back up. All right, so we are now going to put my second coat on, or my second color. And again, I don't want glaze falling out of my brush, but I want it to be full. So we're going to go in the opposite direction. We're going to put the second color on the sides, being careful not to get it on the bottom. Now the sides, it's difficult to go in the opposite direction, so either do little strokes like that, or on the edges, it doesn't totally matter. And again, we do not glaze the bottoms. This is called dry footing, which we all know because we watched the first video, or you're very confused right now. So we're going to blow this one dry. And as you can see, this went from a much brighter green to a dull chalky green when it's dry. That's how you know glaze is dry. We're going to then apply our second coat in the same direction that we applied the first. And then we are going to put our final coat on the sides. Please do not glaze on my canvases. You will ruin my canvases for the next person to use clay, or even yourself. Okay. The glaze wipes off with one of the towels, wipes off super easy from the table. It's just glazed right on the table. Okay, so we're going to close this one up. While this one dries, I'm going to go wash my brushes, so I'll be back. This is what a clean brush looks like. They do not get left back by the sink. They get put back in the correct colored bag once they have been cleaned and dried. And this is stored, again, above the blow dryers. This book, with all the colors, is stored above the paddles or right next to this binder. If you apply your glazes correctly and you do practice a little patience, what you'll get is a lot of different movements within where you carved, which is why I was so specific that we had to make sure our texture could be felt, because if you just draw on it, all it's going to do is fill these and you'll just get one flat color. Where things sink in and come back out, that's where you get your movement. All of these have been layered, okay, and they have been layered correctly. You will pick 2 different glazes for your tiles. So each tile is to be one either combination of layering or one solid color, but each one has to be different. So I cannot do the same color combination on my other tile. My other tile, I have to pick a new one. I am also going to take an underglaze pencil so that I remember what my combination was. So when it comes out and I really, really like it, I know how to make it happen again. So I have these pencils that everybody seems to think is a regular pencil. It is not. It says Amico Underglaze Pencil. Okay. And on the back of this, I am going to write PC 12. And then I'm going to write PC 25. My top color is always my color that I put on first so that I remember it went on first. Okay. And this pencil is specifically designed to not come off when I fire it to 2000 degrees. All right. My bottom is clean, but if I end up with glaze on the bottom here, I need to go and sponge this off before I can set it on the shelf that says high fire. You got questions? Let me or one of my TAs know. Otherwise, happy glazing.